The update statement follows this simple syntax, right? So you have the update clause, then the table that you want to update, and the set specify the columns to be updated, right? So you can have more than one columns being updated at the same time, and the value that it needs to be updated to. So you have the column and then the value that you are setting it to. And the where clause that specifies the condition that has to be met before the update is done. To update specific rows in the table, we must specify the where clause. Only the rows that meet the specified condition will be updated. If the where clause is omitted, all the rows in the table for that column will be updated. So let's take a look at an example using the person table. So now I'm going to write a select statement to query the person table. Now I'm just displaying the data which is in the person table, right? So if we observe the data carefully, we have an email promotion column. Now what we want to achieve is to set the email promotion column to 0. So all the values must be 0 for each record. So we can write an update statement to achieve this. So remember, it's update. Let me push this down. The table name that you want to update, which is person. Now we are going to use set. The column that we want to update, right, which is email promotion. And then we're going to specify the value that we want to set. So let's execute this statement. The query has been executed successfully. Now let's do a select on the person table again. Now you can see that all the email promotion has been updated. But what do we do if we only want to set the value for one record? This is where the where clause comes in handy, because not all the time when you need to do an update, you will need to update all the records for a column. So here in the data set, Rob doesn't have a title. So we're going to give Rob a title of Mr., right? So what we need to do now is use a where clause, and we need to use ID that uniquely identifies Bob. So only Bob record gets updated. So here I'm going to use where. We're going to use the business entity ID because that uniquely identifies each person within the person table. So we're going to copy this statement and paste, right? So this time the column that we are updating is the title column. So we have to change the column from email promotion to title. And we are setting the value to Mr., which is a string. If we update this, it will update all the rows for the title column, but we don't want that. So now we have to filter the data based on a value that is unique, which is the business entity ID. So we're going to say where business entity ID is equal to 4. So if we do not use a column that has a unique value, then more than one title will be affected. Now if you want to be sure that you're not making any mistake and you're ensuring that only one record gets updated, then you can always write a select statement to check before you run the update. So now let's execute this statement. Now let's query the person table again, and we can see that Rob now has the title as Mr. Now if we look at our data set again, Michael doesn't have a middle initial or middle name, and he doesn't have a title, right? So based on the two previous examples, if we were supposed to update the title for Michael and the middle name, you may be thinking write two update statement, but you can achieve this in one update statement, right? So let's copy this statement, let's paste, right? So the column we're updating is the title. So we're going to keep the title as Mr. And then for additional columns that you want to update, you're going to separate it by a comma and then specify the column name. So in this case, it's middle name, and then you specify the value that you want to set. So I'm going to give him a middle initial of B. Now we have to change the where clause, right? And change the ID to that of Michael, which is 10. Now let's execute this statement. Let's query the person's table again. Now if you check row number 10, you can see that Michael now has a title of Mr. and as a middle name of B. Now, let's say we want to change the promotional email to 2 for all the person who lived in the city of Bothell, right? But when we check the person's table, we can't identify the city of Bothell within the person table. So what we have to do to achieve this is to join the person table to the business entity address and then join that table to the person address, which is this table. So let's scroll down to the person table. So the person table will join with the business entity ID within the business entity address table, and the business entity address table will join with the person address table based on the address ID. So let's look at this query. So first we want to do a query to ensure our query is working correctly before we do the update. So here I have a query that is going to check the list of person who lives in the city of Bothell. So let's execute this statement to return all the persons who live in the city of Bothell. Let's execute. As you can see, they have a promotional email of 1. So we want to change this to 2 for all the persons who live in Bothell. So let's look at what the update statement will look like. So the syntax doesn't really change much. The only thing we add in here is the from clause to make the joins with the other tables. So it's the same update, right? You're going to specify the table that you want to update, the value that you want to set. In this case, I'm going to be setting it to 2. Now this section is where I'm joining the person table to the business entity address and then to the address to get the address of the persons who live in Bothell. Without this join, I will not be able to update the persons who lives in Bothell. So I have to make this join because the Bothell column is not in the person table. So let's execute this statement. So our statement was executed successfully. Now let's run the query again to check for those who lives in Bothell to see if the email address was updated, right? Not email address, the email promotion. The email promotion was updated to 2. So let's go back to the initial query. We will query the person's table. Now let's execute. And when we scroll down, you can see that we have some columns equal to in the data set, right? So that's how you can update records using join statements. Alright, so let's look at another example using the join statement. So here we have the sales table, right? Within the sales table, we have salespersons, but these salespersons belongs to different regions. So our goal is to increase the bonus of the salesperson in the United States by 50%. We can check the sales territory table to see the list of territories that are actually available. So I'm going to do a select asterisk from sales territory. Now let's execute. And we have US, CA, France, DE, AU, and GBP, right? So now we have a select query that gets that data. So let's execute this. So based on this result, we have a couple salesperson who are from the US region. So we have 14 records here. Now let's double check the salesperson table again to ensure we have the same record. Well, we have 17. However, we have 3 null territories, so that's fine. So now we need to write an update statement that will update only the salespersons who are in the US region. So first we need the update command. Then we need a table that will be updated, which is the salesperson table. Then we have the set clause and we need to specify the column that we are going to set, which is bonus. However, in order to set the bonus, we need to do a calculation. But how are we going to do this? Right? So first we need to get the existing bonus, then increase it by 50 and then update the column with the new value. So we're going to have equal bonus, right? So we're going to say plus. Now in bracket, we're going to have bonus times 0.05. So we are finding 50% of bonus, adding it to bonus, and then setting it back to bonus. Now if you're familiar with programming, this can be rewritten a shorter way, right? So the next step is to include our where clause. But in order for us to get to the where clause, we have to join the salesperson table to the sales territory in order for us to add the country region of US in the where clause. So we need a from statement. I'm going to copy this existing information which is here. So it's from the salesperson, right? I'm aliasing the table as SP. And I'm inner joining on the sales territory. Now I can add my where condition. So I'm going to say where country code is equal to US. Now let's execute. Now let's query the salesperson table again. Now we can see that there has been some increase in the values, but I did not note anyone that was specifically in the US region, right? So we're going to do this again and give them another 50% increase. So what we're going to be doing this time is that we're going to be noting the business entity ID of an individual who is in the US region. So I'm going to use this query here and filter for US, as well as I'm going to add a column for the business entity ID. Now let's re-execute this statement. So business 275 is in the territory of the United States, right? So now let's execute this statement again to give the persons who are in the US region another 50% increase. Must be nice. Now let's execute this statement again, and we can see that the bonus has increased by another 50%. So this command here can be shortened, right? So we can say plus equal and then get rid of the brackets and just keep the 0.05. Now let's execute this statement again. Now let's execute the top query. And you can see that the bonus has moved from 9,000 something to 13,000. SQL also allows us to update tables using expressions like common table expressions or derived tables. So this query here could be rewritten using a CTE. So if you remember from the previous lecture, it goes by the syntax with the name of the CTE, optional columns, right? And then you say has. Now for the as section, we're going to be putting the select statement that finds the result that we want to update. So in this case, it will be the select statement, right? So I'm just going to copy this and put it in the CTE. Now I'm going to have my outer expression. So instead of giving them a 50% bonus this time, I'm going to be giving them a 50% decrease in their bonus. So I'm going to say update CTE set, and I'm going to get the bonus. Instead of add, I'm going to say minus. Now let's execute this statement. Now let's run the select portion of the query to see the result of the salesperson in the US region. So if you remembered, this was about 13,000. Now it's down to 6,918, right? Now let's execute again and give them a 75% decrease in bonus this time. Sounds a bit harsh, right? Now let's execute. Now let's execute the select statement again. And it has decreased to 17,229. So as you can see, using the CTE is more readable than using the regular update statement with the join statement. So to summarize, we use the update statement to change data within a table. We can update a single column, multiple column. We can filter the data using a where clause to set a criteria as to what we want to update, and we can also update data using joins as well as common table expressions. In the next lecture, we're going to be taking a look at the delete statement.